Hello everyone, welcome to the video in basic software testing series. Till now we have covered almost 90% of what is expected or required from a manual test engineer. Now we will take a look today in defect lifecycle, which is a part of testing lifecycle basically. Uh, and we will take a look at uh, one of the bug management tool, that is JIRA, uh, wherein we maintain our defects, we raise our defects, and we perform defect life cycle entirely. So JIRA is not only used for defect, it is also used for agile scrum management, uh, wherein we have different tasks or a story or epics that is being created based on the requirement. So as you are now familiar with what requirements are, how do they work, the client gives us the requirement, and then the stories are created based on that requirement. So whenever a requirement is being communicated or given to a team, an epic is created. Epic is a keyword that is used in JIRA. This epic is created. So let me show you how does a JIRA tool look and how does this epic is created. So this is agile JIRA board, wherein this epic or a story could be created. Epic is not created by a manual tester. It would be a scrum master, that is a lead of the team. They can create epic. Okay, so epic name would be the requirement. Let's say a new requirement is coming, that e-commerce for uh, let's say cake company is the name of the company. Cake company should be developed. This could be the name of the epic. In summary, we can write the company is given us given the requirement, and whatever the summary is, given the requirement for our e-commerce to be developed, and all those things would be mentioned here. In attachment, they will attach the requirement documents and all other requirement documents, right? In description, we could see the enumeration of tasks, or whatever the minutes of the meeting is, they will mention here in the description, which entire team can read at any point of time. And this is how it is created. And once this epic is created, it displays that now this is in the backlog. Okay, backlog means this has not picked up yet, and it is to be created, because at a time there could be multiple requirements could be given to your team. Let's say this is the requirement number two, okay. I'll just quickly write something so that we can see it. uh, so now the requirement number two has come, and this is the requirement number one, which is already there. Now when a sprint starts, right, as I have told you that a sprint is basically of 2 weeks. So let's say the sprint is starting, and the team has decided to pick up the requirement for cake company, requirement number one. So Scrum Master, what he or she will do, that he or she will just simply move this requirement to the development, that this has been selected for the development, and we will start working on this particular requirement, right? So what will they do, that they will create the stories. Now under epic, you can create the story. So for a story, they can write whatever the let's say login page need to be developed, right? So login page story is there. I will just create it, and they will say, okay, one more story to be created. Let's say home page story is created. They will create it, they will attach all the requirements, all the documents, right? They will start attaching it. And finally a products page need to be created. This is the another story. Story is nothing but the modules, right, that we have seen, different modules. They will just create the story or whatever the task is. And finally the payment page, right? Payment page story need to be created. They will create it. And these stories, basically, let's say if I open this story, here you can see that these can be assigned, right? These are unassigned, so these can be assigned to any user. Here we will have the list of all the team, including you as a tester. You can the scrum master will just simply assign this, and so this will be displayed that this has been assigned to this particular user. And they will say, okay, our epic is in the development, let's bring login page into the development and home page into the development for this current uh, sprint. The two pages will be developed in the next sprint, that is after 2 weeks, once these are finished. Now as a developer, they will start working on this login page. Let's say this is the story for them. They will start working on this. They can create, attach the documents, whatever they are doing. They can create a subtask, right? Because in login page there could be some other things that need to be developed. So they will do that, and once it is finished, they once they start working on it, they will put it in progress. Okay, they will change the status to in progress, and the status will be look like this: it is in progress in the dashboard. Once this is in progress, and it is marked done, let's say it is marked done. So what will happen, we the tester could pick it up in progress status or in done status also. Okay, most probably this login page will be picked up in the in progress status, and the developer will assign this to you. Let's say if you are the assigned, they will just say, okay, this is now assigned to uh, the tester. Now let's say you are the tester, now this will be assigned to you, and you will start testing on this particular login page. Meanwhile, the home page is also completed, it is in progress, and he will assign this to you as well. So now these two stories are assigned to you, and you will start your testing. Okay, you will do the testing using your test cases only, right? You will do the testing on the URL that they will give you. Let's say this is the URL, you will do the testing on this URL. They will provide you everything inside this. In the description part, they will mention that this is the URL that need to be tested and perform system testing, and they will assign it to you. Okay, they will write your name, let's say at the rate okay, Mr. Bean, perform the please perform the testing. The developer could do this. Okay, and you also have the comment section wherein all the communication happens. Anyone from your team or anyone from another team could just give you a task that what is the status, what is the status of this. Okay, they can just write a comment. You can reply that I am working on it, I am working on it, right? It will be completed, it will be completed by EOD, that is end of the day. You can write it like this. And once your testing is uh, working, right, you are doing the testing, and let's say for this particular login page, okay, for this particular login page, your test case has failed, right? Now your test case has failed, that means you need to raise the defect, right? You will be raising that defect. So what will you do? You will just what you do is you will just close this. Okay, you will just close this, and you will see this create button in Jira board. Okay, now please pay attention, because this is the task that you will be doing, right? You will be creating a defect. So click on this create button. Once you click on this create button, make sure that project is displayed correctly, the current project name is displayed. You can choose the project from drop down. In issue type, you just choose the bug. Okay, so defect is referred as the bug. Okay, here you will write the summary. What is the summary of your bug? So you need to follow a standard format for writing a summary. So what do you mean by standard format? So standard format is that first you write the environment name, you write the environment name, you also write that what kind of testing is this, right? Testing type, type of testing, type of testing, and then you write the story name or the task name under which story you are creating this, and then the description. Okay, then the description. So I will follow this format. First I will write the environment name, so I will say that this is the QA environment, so I will write QA, okay, like this inside bracket. After this, what is the type of testing? So let's say I am performing system testing, or let's say component testing, so I will write component testing. After component testing, what is my story name? So the story name is login page, right? So I have found this defect under login page, so I will write login page story. Now you will write the description. So description should be precise. Mark my words, I am quoting it. It should be precise, and anybody who sees the description, he should be able to understand the bug by just reading the summary only. They should not go inside, they need not to go inside and see the description. Just see what the summary is and they should be able to understand. So what is the summary should be? Here we have seen that verifying the login functionality, verify login using valid credential, and the test case has failed, right? So what we will say in general we will say that login is not happening with the valid credentials, right? Login is not happening with the valid credential. So we will write login functionality failed with valid credentials. Simple. Login functionality failed with valid credentials. And now we can write the description. Now here is the important part. How do you write the description of a bug? Okay, so for that you have a format. That format is, I will paste this description and the formatting in the description part of the video. You can refer from there. First we will write the URL on which we are testing. Okay, you need to mention the URL. You need to provide the user ID and the password as well. Okay, always provide the user ID and password. Then after giving a space, you write what is the name of the environment, and then you will write steps to reproduce, step to reproduce the defect. Simple. Because anybody who is seeing that defect, he should be able to reproduce that defect. That means that defect is coming each and every time we are running the particular steps. So what all are the steps? First you need to write the steps 1 2 3, how many steps are required, and then you will write what is the expected output. We are doing nothing but we are just replicating our test case here. You see, we have steps, when we have expected output, we are just replicating it in this form in a list manner. So what is the expected output, and finally what is the actual output, right? What is the actual output? Because developer will see this, you will assign this to the developer, this defect, so they will see this description, they will see this expected and actual output, and they can start working on it straight away, because they will be able to understand why the defect has been raised, why the defect has come. Otherwise, if you will not write this properly, you will not mention URL, you will not mention environment. So environment means we have different environment. We have QA dot abc.com. We also have uat.abc.com. We also have preprod dot abc.com. We have different environments, right? How will the developer know on which environment you have found the defect? Right, so it is a good practice to mention these all things in the description. Although we have different drop downs in JIRA, but still try to maintain this, uh, because in real time mainly the developer will focus on the description, right? Now they will not go and find the environment in the drop downs. Mostly, this is I'm giving you with the real experience. So try to maintain this format. So this way you will be able to tell them that this need to be followed, and this is how you are going to reproduce the defect. So let me just replicate what I have given you in the JIRA. So I will just write here the URL, that on which URL you are performing the testing. So I will say I'm performing the testing on this URL. So you just go to this URL, and then he will ask, okay, what user ID you have used. User ID password is always a good practice, because although this issue is with user ID and password only, but the issue could be in product page also, it could be on payment page also. So they should know that which user ID password you have used. Otherwise, it could be an issue with a single user ID, and with other user ID, it might be working. So you should provide user ID password always. So I'll just pick it up from here that this is the user ID, this is the user ID, and this is the password. Okay, you just use this password. I'm just assuming, okay, this password is working completely fine. I'm just assuming that this login is not happening. Okay, so now the next step, we are following this skeleton here only. What is the environment? So I'll just write here the environment. What is our environment? Okay, this is the QA environment, I'll say. And then the next is steps to reproduce the defect. What all are steps that I have done due to which this defect has come, right? Because we are just dealing with a very normal website here. In real time, there could be many flows, there could be many pages. So what all steps you followed, how did you ended up with the defect? This needs to be explained clearly. So we will say that user is on login page, user is on login page, then user enters user ID column. What is the user ID? Just write the user ID, that it is standard underscore user. I'm copying it from above. Third, what is the next step? User enter password. So whatever we do manually, we are just writing it in the form of words. So it is secret underscore sauce. Fourth is what the user do. Then user, what will user do? See, user will hit this login button, right? So hit means click. We are going to click this login button. So we will write the next step is user click on login button. Okay, so this is all what we have done, and then we saw the error message. Next is what is the expected output. So what is our expected output? That user should log in successfully, right? So we just go, and here we will mention the next step is the expected output, the expected output. So user should log in successfully. And finally, what we have to write, we have to write the actual output as well. So we will mention the actual output. So what happened in actually user was not able to log in. Okay, and then you can mention the error message that you might have seen, right? You can give the error message here, that whatever the error messages come, that invalid credential or any message, right? Any message could come. You can just give the message that this message has been displayed when it happened. Now this is the description part, right? So far we have written the summary, we have written the description, and now comes here also you have environment. As I have told you, you can also mention here that this is QA environment. Now the priority. Okay, I'm not going to cover this fixed version labels because with company it varies, but whatever fields that are common across all organization, I'm going to use them. So what is the priority of the defect? Okay, now comes the priority. How do you decide the priority of anything? Now, since this is the login application, right? This is the login application. And if the login is not working, quote this, if the login is not working, how will you perform other activities, right? If the login breaks, if login is not working, how will you enter into the website? How will you do other things? That means it is going to stop you completely. It will block you completely, right? It stops you completely, it blocks you completely. So these kind of errors that blocks you completely, these are the highest priority, right? The defects that blocks you are the highest priority, and all, and the defect that have the higher capacity of affecting the business, they come into the high criteria. And then we have medium and low, based on your functionality. It depends on your functionality, what kind of company you are in, what kind of functionality is that. So the highest priority is a blocker. Okay, it is blocking the entire functionality. So we will say that this is the highest priority defect. You can see you have highest, high, low, lowest. So you can say this is the highest priority defect. And attachment. So what is the thing that you should attach here? What you can do is you can just simply go to the swag this website and just hit the print screen button on your laptop or desktop. So it will generate a basically a screenshot of your, attach it. You can just attach it to your JIRA board. Basically in your JIRA board you can just browse and you can attach whatever a picture is there. Okay, whatever the screenshot is there, you can just click on it and open it and you can attach it. And you will assign this to the developer. Let's say this is the developer, you will assign it and you will select the epic. Whatever the epic is there, you can select it and you create it. So once you create this defect, it starts to show in the backlog, right? It will start to show in the backlog, and the Scrum Master or developer will pick it and they will bring it to the development and finally into the in progress status. So once it comes into the in progress status, what you have to do is basically go to the login page, because this issue is related to login page, right? So you go to the login page, you open this and here you can just link the issue. You see here is a button, you just click on this link issue and you search for your issue. So you, when you search, you will see this, that this is the defect. You just click on this and link it. Now what is the purpose of this? Why are we linking that defect here? Because this is the login page where you have find this defect. So until and unless this particular defect is marked done, until and unless this defect is marked done, the developer will not close this task, right? He or she will be able to see, okay, some defects are still open, right? It is still open and it will ensure the completeness of the project. So once this defect is done by us, because we are the tester, the developer will tell us that the test development is done, the defect has been fixed. So we as a tester, we will mark this done, right? We will be opening this from here only. We will open this from here and we will just say, okay, this task is done now. The developer will tell you in the comment. Okay, the developer might say that uh, issue has been fixed, please test. Okay, let's say please test or please check. They can say please check, and they can directly do this at the rate. Okay, they can do this at the rate. So you will be tagged, and due to this tagging, an email will be sent to you. Okay, due to this tagging, basically an email will be sent to you. Let me just see if okay, I cannot open an email, but you will receive an email. Okay, I will attach a screenshot of the email in the description. You can see it later. An email will be sent to this email, and you will be able to see that okay, the issue has been fixed, and then you can come here. You can perform your testing again. How will you perform? You will go to your test case, as I have explained earlier. You will have the defect ID. So what is the defect ID here? Defect ID is this BAS7, right? This is the project name. This is the 7 is the number. You will have any kind of number here. So you can just mention here that my defect ID is BAS7. So once you see that developer has given you the message that issue has been fixed, you will just search this particular number in your test case sheet and you will perform this test case again. You will search this defect, you will perform this test case again, and if the test case pass this time, if the test case passes, then you will go here and you will mark this as done. You will mark this as done and you will write that defect is working fine now, hence closing the defect, hence closing the defect. And what will you do? You will write at the rate the developer name, you will write at the rate your manager name, right? You will write at the rate, let's say, your lead name, because an email will be initiated to them as well that this particular defect has been closed now, because there should be some action item on their end that they could be waiting that this defect is closed, then they can move ahead with some task. So you need to notify everything, you need to report everything. So this is how this works. Now let's suppose if this was in progress status and this defect is not passed after the developer has told you that this has been fixed, and it is not passed and it fails again, it fails again. So what will you do? You simply have to reassign this. Okay, reassign this to the developer, reassign this to the developer and mark a comment here that issue is still open, please take a look, anything, right? You can write a message here, please take a look at that at the rate developer name. So they will again do the coding, they will again give a comment, and at a some stage you will going to close it. So once this is done, right, once this is done, in login page we have attached this, right? If you remember, we have attached this. So now developer can happily close this task, right? Because all the issue has been fixed, they will close it, they will mark it done, and they will say that login page is completed successfully. We can deploy it, we can deploy it to the UAT environment. Now this is QA environment, they can say we can deploy it to the UAT environment, and they will tag the manager, they will tag the manager and they will save it. So now the manager knows that our work is done for this particular login page requirement story, basically, and we can move this story to the done, and we are good with this particular page. Similarly, the entire process of testing development will happen with home page also, and they will mark it as done. And now these two functionalities are ready to be moved to the UAT environment and eventually to the release environment. And now that Scrum Master can happily pick the other two requirements, that is product page, payment page. The same life cycle goes for them also. The product page comes into the progress, payment page comes to the progress. You do the testing on these pages, you raise a defect, they fix the defect, you close the defect. There could be possibility there are no defect, which is very less of outcome that I have seen. And finally, you upload this, basically you move this to the done phase, that okay, payment page is done, this is also done. So now once this is in done status, what will happen for product and payment? We will deploy the code to the UAT and eventually to the release. So now comes the regression testing, right? As we have seen in the previous video, now the regression testing comes, and the regression testing is done on all of the web pages or on all of the application entirely, right? In QA environment, we will be doing the system testing also, but in release environment, we will be doing the regression testing. So this is about the JIRA board. This is the real-time example, and as far as I am concerned, I can surely tell you that you will not see anything new, anything surprising when you join any company. This will be the JIRA board, and if it is not JIRA, if it is some other management tool, then there also it is similar, right? The task moves from one state to another state, finally they are done or complete. Similarly, you create a defect, you raise a issue, there could be the name is as issue, not the bug. So this is how an entire defect life cycle works. You raise a defect, you check it again, right? When a defect come, you raise a defect, you check it, right? You close it, If it is not fixed, you reopen it. And this is how the entire defect life cycle and testing life cycle basically works. Thank you guys. I am ending this video now.